Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Well, in continuation of our series of the roots of HOCD, tonight or today, depending where you are, I want to discuss with you something that you need to get a little bit deeper in your analytical mind to understand and see what is being discussed, and perhaps inwardly you can see it as clearly as I, or at least as it should be seen. Look, many of you are going through HOCD, common experience that almost any heterosexual male is dealing with in their lifetime, several times and so on. And the roots of it all is, unlike what is being taught by the layman, by most of you, is thought. That's all. There is no gender changing, there is no actual sexual inclination of any kind other than what you've been created out of the womb of your mother, which you'll be like that forever, whatever you're created as. If you were born as a homosexual, you'll be homosexual all your life and enjoy and embrace and progress in your life. And if you're born as heterosexual, you'll be heterosexual forever, and as long as you live and beyond, and you'll enjoy your life and accomplish what you're here to accomplish. The rest of it is product of a malfunctioning brain, which we've talked about it in detail, about the orbital prefrontal cortex and the amygdala and thalamus and caudate nucleus and all these that we've discussed in other videos. There's no sense of going through it now. But you can always go through intrusive, transient, OCD, HOCD, negative thoughts, and we've got a number of videos on that topic, and 23 of them are specifically made for bringing the knowledge that you need, with all the links that, in addition to what I discuss here in regards to the behavior of the brain and thoughts and consciousness and fear and desire and ego and all the components and the influences on activity and behavior of the psyche, there are links below those videos from the works of brilliant scientists and doctors such as Dr. Schwartz and Dr. Philipson, Dr. Jan Weiner, and many other psychotherapists and therapists and so on that can help you with the information that you could be seeking in order to bring about the balance that you've always had, and now you're just challenged by thoughts and you think it's something real, which is not. And we've discussed that in many other videos. Now, here tonight, I want to go in different level as far as understanding the origin of thought. We've discussed the origin of thought and the relationship between thought and consciousness and fear and desire, ego, and all the rest of it, the movement of the psyche, in many other videos, standalone videos on their own, independent videos. But tonight, I want to bring your attention to something that pertains to this question that you have brought about to your mind about HOCD, just because thoughts of homosexuality or interest in different sexual inclination that you've never been interested in, and you're now having these thoughts popping up in your mind to kiss another guy, you like it, or other images that to you is obnoxious, and you're dealing with that. And I want you to go a little bit further, deeper in understanding the origin of thought and see what is the credibility of this thought that you think it knows about you more than you know about you. Meaning there is a you and there is a thought, and thought is not you and you're not thought, and brain is not you and you're not the brain. That's what we're trying to, we've always talked about it, scientists have talked about it, this is already proven. But here, I want to bring your attention to these few little notes. You think thought is you. Do you want to make mistake in life? Do you want to fail in life? I don't think you would. Has there ever been a failure, or has there ever been a mistake that thought wasn't involved or responsible for? Think about it. If thought is you, you are thought. And you don't want to make mistakes or failure in life. But thought has always been responsible for mistakes and failures and the judgments and decisions that you made. So how could thought on its own know shit or be the center of the intelligence or wisdom or smarts. It's an apparatus. It can help you calculate things, figure out things, produce things, design things, learn things, accomplish things. But it's just a tool. Its job is making thoughts. You're not supposed to believe in brain's behavior, because as it's very powerful, it also malfunctions. And when it malfunctions, one of the ways it shows itself is in OCD and HOCD and all the other subsets of OCD. So what is the reason that we believe in thoughts if thought cannot be trusted? So what does thought know? If you notice, how could thought know and tell me something about me other than what I know? How could thought know something about me other than what I know? To understand that, let's go to see how thought is created. You know, you always have to do something for thought to learn an experience. And that experience becomes a knowledge, and the knowledge would be recorded in your memory, consciousness. And from what has been recorded in the memory, a suggestion, an idea, a thought is born. And this thought is a product of an action, which it resulted in experience, experience resulted into knowledge, knowledge was recorded in the memory, part of the consciousness, inventory of the consciousness, and from that, an idea, suggestion, thought was born. So thought really doesn't know anything about me, because the source of thought is outside of me. Why? Because we just talked about, for an experience to become knowledge and become recorded in the memory, an action should happen. Where does an action happen? Action happens in a physical environment, in the physicality of an environment, which means it's outside of me. There is no physical environment in the brain, in thought. So action can happen. There's no action happening here. It's all ideas and hypotheses and all that, right? There's no actual physical environment for any action to happen. But for an action to happen, it has to be an outside of me in a physical environment. So that action can take place in a physical environment to lead to an experience, to lead to a knowledge, and then knowledge be recorded in the memory and become part of the consciousness, where a thought can born. So where is the origin of thought? Outside of me, for action cannot take place here. Has to take place there to start this whole process of experience, knowledge, and memory, and then possibly another thought. So where did thought have a chance to know anything about me when its origin and source of existence is coming from outside of me? How could outside know anything about my inside? Because thought, brain, is an apparatus, is a tool to make thoughts. And that's how anything that it could know happens only when there's an action involved, and that action can only happen from outside. So the thought that is generated from all these whole process is sourced, rooted outside, and outside never knows about my inner self, which is the way I was born and created, and nothing can change that. And there's no secret that it knows and I don't know. It cannot know who I am, what I am. That's why it conjures up things that is irrelevant to me, because it doesn't know who I am. It doesn't care. It only does what it's supposed to be doing, making thoughts. It doesn't have a gender, it doesn't have an understanding of what's priority to you unless you direct it and filter it and you choose the thoughts that is being made by brain, which is 80,000-90,000 thoughts a day. And you're supposed to, like anything else that you filter thoughts based on their relevancy or irrelevancy. And meaningless to you should be left alone and you move on. Relax, live your life, watch the videos, get knowledge, get more information, especially watch the links that are put down there from the specialists and the psychotherapists and the doctors. Especially watch Dr. Schwartz's presentation based on experiences that they've done in the laboratory, and the MIT professor and her students did a very interesting experience that is included in Dr. Schwartz's presentations. I highly recommend you watch that, understand how your brain works and the role of obsession to compulsion, to dopamine, to habits, and you learn the more you entertain these nonsense thoughts, irrelevant thoughts, the more you are creating synaptic neurons to occupy your mind with that kind of a thinking, which is all nonsense. But when you constantly treat it and entertain it, well, then you become always occupied with that, and whatever you're occupied in your head, you make a mistake thinking what you're occupied is reality. We talked about it in other videos. Life is an illusion. The illusion you focus on is the reality. So if everything that comes out with all kinds of reasons, unless it is something you creating it purposely, you go into your consciousness, you pick up some inventory of knowledge and information, and then you use that to calculate something, figure out something, produce something, design something, learn something, accomplish something. Unless it's that which is your thought, you're using the apparatus of brain to create what you need to do with thoughts. Unless it's that, the rest of it is what thought conjures up. And what it conjures up is an illusion. But if you keep focusing on that illusion starts looking like a reality. But there is no actuality to it. You have made it by constantly entertaining it. Stop entertaining it so you won't rewire your brain through neuroplasticity, which is constantly doing something and creating new synaptic neurons, which makes you being really good at what it is that you're not supposed to even pay attention to. Because just like you want to learn piano, the more you play, the better you get, because it creates more synaptic neurons to make you better at that. And the less you play piano, then the synaptic neurons are going to be marked by CQ1 protein, and then microglial cells at night when you sleep go and see that these synaptic neurons are dormant and destroys them. And then you're no longer as good as you used to be when you were practicing a lot of piano. Same thing. If you stop paying attention to these nonsenses that shows up in your brain, in your head, then you're actually rewiring yourself for not paying attention to these things, which eventually, by your behavior and not paying attention to these things start showing up less and less, because they can see by your behavior there are no interest in here. Even the caudate nucleus is not working properly to shut off the intrusive thoughts that is created by the orbital frontal cortex. Even though it's malfunctioning, caudate nucleus, to shut off the intrusive thoughts, but your behavior, because you're distant and you don't pay attention to, you recognize what there is, oh, okay, and then you do your own thing, your behavior rewires your brain towards not paying attention to these things. And when the brain realizes that there is no taker here, there is no entertainment here, it'll eventually shut off on its own, and caudate nucleus gets to refunction normally as before. That's why many of us get this and then it's perfectly fine again, and then we say, oh, thank God I didn't buy into that one. And then a few years later you may get this for different reasons. And usually, I mean, there are many reasons that happens, and too much computer or too whatever is happening out there. I don't know what the hell is going on out there. And there's so many people, it's so common, millions and millions, if not everybody. Well, we know that 94% of people have intrusive thoughts. But when they're not in the glitch of OCD, they just recognize, oh, okay, and they go on, and then caudate nucleus shuts it off. But when it doesn't, then you start thinking, oh, maybe it's real. Don't fall for it. Just live your life and enjoy your life, and with your behavior, create this, and we all go through this once in a while, and that's perfectly normal. Don't be surprised if you see somebody and some kind of a weird thought shows up. Don't buy into it. Okay, weird thought shows up. Weird thought shows up all the time, didn't it? And you know, it could show up as soon as your girlfriend maybe looks at some guy and says, oh, you know, I used to like this guy. And suddenly intrusive thoughts start because that guy seems to be now superior, you seem to be inferior, and they all translates into, you know, being dominant or not being dominant, being a top dog or not being, and then the negative mind runs with it with sexual images and all kind of nonsense. It's thought. Let it be. You know inwardly who you are, what you are, because that is the me, the superior intelligence that knows about your gender, your inclinations, and everything's clear in there. Just like when it was clear 40,000 years ago, a million years to 40,000 years ago, there was no such intrusive thoughts. Why? Because there was no thoughts. We weren't able to think or speak. So there was no intrusion. There was no ideas or suggestions of this kind, because thoughts are the roots of our problems. When there was no thoughts, capability of thoughts in us up to 40,000 years ago, there was no such confusions of any kind. We were living like animals, instinctively. Eat what we had to eat, sleep, hunt, have sex, and it was all clear what we were, what we weren't. Once thoughts start to become an apparatus, a tool for us, then these ideas, which are based on all the information that's available out there, and the more information became available and into people's hands more freely, like internet, computer, images, this and that, the more information is here, and then the brain runs with all those information, and the negative part of it runs with intrusive thoughts and creates all kind of shit. And then you, brain being powerful, you think it's sticking there, it's staying there, it's continuously insisting on it, and you think, oh, there's something that is changing in you. Nothing changes in you. The gender doesn't change. Whatever you've been born and created as, that's what you are going to be enjoying your life, all through your life. These are thoughts, and you're not supposed to be thinking that thoughts have anything to do with taking anything away from you, and because thoughts also never had anything to do with you having been created the way you have. Thought didn't even exist how you were being put together, your mother's womb. So rest assured, relax, enjoy your life, and understand. Thought is thought. It's the brain's work. It's a thought that is made by the brain, not by you. You use the tool, the apparatus of brain to make your own kind of thoughts, which is for the purpose of learning, creating something, designing something, accomplishing something, figuring out something, calculating something. These are your thoughts. You know, judging something, analyzing. The rest of it is brain's work, not yours. Just because it's in your head, that doesn't mean you're responsible for it. And don't fall for it. Stand your ground, enjoy your life, and everything will be fine as long as you have this knowledge of separation between the me, you, and brain. The me, you, and thought. Then you know thought is subordinate, and you filter it, you choose it, just like when you breathe, you have filters in your nose to get the impurities out and get the oxygen in. When you choose, when you look at something with your eyes, just because you see it, you're not responsible for it. If you don't think you're interested, you look around. And you're hearing things, you're not responsible for what you're hearing. If you hear it, that doesn't mean that's the music you made. You have the ability to hear. But if you don't like it, you plug it or you go somewhere else. Same thing, thought, brain makes thoughts. You filter it. You choose among all these things that it makes, and most of them are garbage. That's why you don't pay attention to it. And that's why caudate nucleus is there to shut all these extraordinary stuff there, and then you just choose from what is relevant to you and leave everything else irrelevant to you. It will always be irrelevant to you. Have a wonderful evening and chill out, relax, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.